Mike, you have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this day. Oh my God, what is this? Just screwing around, Mike. So it's left. I just wanted you to see that we didn't reuse any of the parts that were in this thing whatsoever. Just pulled the transistors out of it and said it's done. This little box was great in the 80s. We've come a long ways. You know, the only problem with stacking the, a couple major problems with this box, but the primary problem is the way the transistors are oriented. Okay. When this started out about 11 months ago, when we started dinking around with this box, bud, there were these N transistors that kept going. And then you wanted to run sideband on it, so we put that in there, and then we had other problems. It got hooked up backwards, and a couple other things happened, but when you stack the transistors in a row like this, as the air flows through the cabinet and then flows across the heatsink across the bottom, it starts to accumulate heat. All right. By the time the air gets down here to the end of the cabinet, it's already picked up or had enough temperature uptake to where it can no longer transfer heat directly away from this little section of heatsink. So aluminum, as being a semi-decent conductor of heat, slowly wicks the heat out to the other surfaces areas of the heatsink. Meanwhile, this area is just getting hotter than a firecracker. So these transistors in the back were always getting super hot for Mike. I said, you know what, dude? If this thing lets go one more time, we're just going to stop sinking any more energy into this particular cabinet. We're going to pull the valuable bits out. We're going to build you this. New variable, all new switches, new LEDs, new fan, new cabinet, new heatsink, new board, new everything. The only thing I got transferred from amp A to amp B are two things: the transistors and the line section. Let me get this old guy out of the way. Now let's talk about what we did. There's nothing like overly groundbreaking or new that went on with this cabinet, but I put a lot of love into it. Mike has been through a lot with his other box. He's had all kinds of things go on with it, so I thought, let's give him the best of the best of the best of what this little shop can kick out for him. Every single part in here, if it's got a matched part that goes with it, like all the 120 puff caps are within 1% of each other, all the 1,000 puff caps are within 1% of each other, all the 330s are within 1% of each other, all the resistors, I took a lot of 100 10 ohm resistors and I measured all the 100 ohm or 10 ohm resistors and got them within 1% of each other tolerance. Everything is so super stinking tight in tolerance on this box, and it shows the way this thing works, and it works good. Even the chokes. As I created the chokes, I laid them all out on a workbench, and they're all trimmed within 1/16 of an inch of each other. The combiners and splitters are also assembled the same way. Absolute matched. Let's talk about line sections for a second, you guys. Look, I'm going to share some knowledge with the RF world here for a minute, because I'm tired of seeing bolted on line sections like this one here. It's bolted down nice and flush, that are showed up here and they're done wrong. And let me explain to you my idea of wrong. Over here we have a single line section, just single slot line section, just like what's attached to the back of Mike's box. Most guys apparently are having a hard time figuring out how to pull this off, because this is the third or the fourth one that I've had show up here that's been done the way Mike's old box was. Instead of using all the fittings that are applied, they go and they take a piece of wire and they put it in the end of this pass-through tube. And they solder it in its place. Stop doing that. Jet. Let me assemble this thing here real quick. So this rod goes here. This rod goes here. Okay, so there's a little dimple there. And the way the dimple works is that this is a pressure fitting. Stand that on in. It's a pressure fitting. So we're going to have smooth, uniform pressure, but still allow this joint to flex. Okay? And it makes contact with this rod. Well, this rod sits through this tube, just like so. The plate sits on the end and makes connection to the center conductor bar. If you take and solder a wire directly in the end of this, there is nothing that can stop this Teflon spacer over time from working its way out and this bar becoming loose and shorting out in the inside of your cabinet. So, Teflon spacer, cut the hole in the back of the cabinet, and this hanging in the back of the cabinet. Pink, off on the wire. Bad. Now look at how I did this. Connector plate. It's on the outside of the cabinet. So the line screws thread right through. They're super long. Take a regular coax connector, solder in your wire, use a piece of coax, use a couple pieces of heat shrink to upscale it, put a downsizer in it, and that way everything stays at the exact distance it's supposed to from ground all the way out to the connector. You get to forego the impedance bump, and that's what most people have a problem with, is the impedance bump from the back of the coax connector to their little jumper to their line section. All of this is fixed, and because this is stranded wire, it can flex like what's going on here. This thing's going to go in this guy's dump truck. It can flex and it's not going to hurt nothing. Take a second, solder the outer jacket, solder the downsizer. Good to go. This works with 393, 217, and when you get to the bigger stuff like 7/8, you do the same thing with those fittings too. Food for thought, but stop soldering to these little pins. Anyhow, Mike, I took this one apart. I took it over to a buddy's house. It's got a machine shop. We were able to find true center on your line section again, and we removed all the lead, then went ahead and bored this out, resurfaced the pin, and restored this back to 100% of its potential. But this thing's working beautiful. You're not going to have any problems with it. Let's get on with the testing. Okay. 2x8 and Class B. Let's run around the band real quick. 1000 watt silicon PEP, 1000 watt silicon average, 5 watt silicon reverse, and now that average meter is not going to move a whole lot, as we know, because I'm going to use a 955. I just got in today a new bench radio for us to try out. It's the Connex CX3600 HP. It's an unknown variable. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet or use it in any kind of form of testing, so we're not going to use it. We're going to stick with what we know. We're going to use a striker with a 5 watt silicon reverse, your 200 2x8, and of course the 10,000 watt bird dumbing load on the end of this whole song and dance. So let's slide on down here. Pedal BBI. About 80 watts worth of peak power going into the 2x8. Now, let's key this puppy. That's with a 1 watt dead key, Mike. You're going to get about 180 watts. Look at this. This is your reflect, Mike. Seriously, he's working great. Let's go on up to the 2x setting so we don't end up breaking our line section meter there, or meter section. Hello. Oh, it did it again. Hello. off to scale. So now we're going to go down to 5x. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. We're going to end up just past the 2,000 watt mark. Remember, we're on 14 volts flat here. We're not screwing around juicing the box or anything. Check this out. Hello, BBI. Effortlessly, brother. You're going to have a lot of fun with this. A lot of fun with this thing. And I don't feel you're going to have any kind of problems whatsoever. Mike, I'm going to put the tin on it, and I'm going to give you a call in about 2-3 minutes, and we're going to talk. I've been waiting forever for this thing, dude. I'm so glad to have this done for you. Enjoy talking on it. My name is BBI, without a shadow of a doubt. I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. Thank you, Mr. Black and Mr. Cunningham. Thank you, Mr. William Cunningham on Facebook. Go look him up. He builds these really cool company logoed frames that changes any color you want, any kind of brightness you want. He did this to me as a thank you gift. I just thought I'd give him a quick shout out. Come check us out. Let me help you. Let me help you get your 10.8. Let's get you straight, and let's get you on the air. Click, click. I'll see you.